Hi everyone. So in this video, boys, you will be going to see the revision for all the topics for CA1 exam. We have mainly three topics. Topic number one, that is the endocrine system. You can see over here in the screen. And then we will be having excretory system, and then we will be having the nervous system. So first of all, let's go over the endocrine system. The word endocrine is basically, whenever you have the word endocrine, it means that which is related to glands and hormones. So the first thing that we need to know is describe the term gland and hormone. So it's very easy to identify them. A gland is any organ which produces chemical substance, and those chemical substances or chemical messages are called hormones. So it's very simple. Gland is an organ, and hormone is the chemical message produced or released from that specific gland. Okay. Moving further, we will see that there are two types of the glands, endocrine and exocrine. The word endo mean inside, so it means that something is inside, and exo mean something is outside. So first of all, endocrine is the one which release their substances directly into the blood. So that's what we mean inside. Endo mean inside. Remember, both of these glands, they release chemicals. One release directly into the blood, and second release out of the blood. And once released out of the blood, they need a duct to be transported from one place to another place. That's why we say that endocrine glands are ductless and the exocrine glands are duct glands. I will just add this word over here. We can also say them as ductless glands. And then the other one are called as duct glands. So we will be putting it over here. Sorry. So this is called as the duct glands. Fine. Now we will proceed further to see what is main difference between them. One is already done. Second, secretions are placed directly into the blood, and secretions are placed outside the blood. They need the duct to transport from one place to another place. We have both release hormones, but mainly endocrines, they release hormones which are like growth hormone or any other like antidiuretic hormone, what adrenaline, noradrenaline. But the exocrine, they mainly releases juices which are called as the enzymes. Then we have examples of the endocrine as the pituitary gland or pancreas, and exocrine as the sweat glands and the pancreas. Don't forget to notice this one, that the pancreas work both as endocrine as well as the exocrine glands. So endocrine as well as the exocrine gland. So pancreas has dual properties. Okay, let's go further. Sorry. Yes, so now we have to compare the hormones. So first of all, I will quickly give a recheck again. We did the difference between the gland and the hormone. Then we discussed what are the endocrine glands and what are exocrine glands. And now we are going to discuss the two types of the hormones. Hormones are also of two types. One type is known as the steroid hormone, which are mainly lipids, and they can easily cross the cell membrane. You don't see any receptor needed in the cell membrane. But the second one are the non-steroid hormones, which are mainly amino acids, proteins, or peptides. The main difference between these two, that these you can see over here, in the non-steroid hormones you need a receptor, and this receptor is present in the cell membrane. So the receptor is itself in the cell membrane. But if you look over here in this one, the steroid hormones, they don't have receptor in the cell membrane. So this is the cell membrane. You can see easily you don't have a receptor here. Where do you have a receptor? In the cytoplasm. So receptor is inside the cell. This is the main difference. Okay, so for example, if a hormone is easily crossing through what we say as the cell membrane and going into the cytoplasm, it is a steroid hormone. But if it is binding with the receptor in the cell membrane, so it means that it is a non-steroid hormone. What is common between both? They both need receptors. Okay, they both need receptors, and that's what we say as the receptor which is needed. Either it is in the cell or in the cell membrane. Now here we have this table. So we have, for example, steroid hormones. We discussed it already. You can just read over it, but remember, mainly this is responsible for the gene expression, the one which we say as the steroid hormone. And over here, it affects overall the main cell activities. Examples are like the estrogen or the testosterone, and here the non-steroid are like insulin or the growth hormones. What are similarities between them? So basically we see the similarities. Both need receptors, as we discussed already. Both go to the target cells. Both are involved. Both have to cross the cell membrane basically, and both carry messages. What are the differences? Steroid hormones are mainly lipids, while the other one are amino acids. The steroid hormones can easily pass through, while the non-steroid cannot. Steroid hormones reach the receptor in the cell membrane easily, while the non-steroid has to bind and then go into the cell. Steroid work very slowly. Next thing which we have to discuss is identify the major glands. So now this is very important area. First of all, you should be able to identify, and then you must say what are their hormones. So you can look into this figure. This figure is like very common to know that starting from the head area, we have the pineal gland, but these two glands are more important. Okay, so the one on the top is hypothalamus, and one little below in the head region, this is pituitary. After this, we go to the neck area. The top one is called thyroid, and the lower one is called parathyroid. So these are like you have to remember. The next one over the kidneys, over the both kidneys, you see this is called as adrenal gland. And in between the kidneys, there is a leaf-like structure. This one, this leaf-like structure over here, this is called as the pancreas. Remember, its structure is just like the leaf-like. Ovaries and testes are female and male glands. We will see those also. So now we have here, for example, one by one. What are the glands? What hormones they release, and what are their functions? So first of all, pituitary. Pituitary mainly produces the growth hormone. Okay, it is the master gland. If it is a growth hormone, it means that it is involved in regulating the growth of bones and muscles, and it stimulates the cell division as well. Hypothalamus releases different hormones like oxytocin, and if you remember, the oxytocin was also involved in positive feedback mechanism. I will just write it here. It will come down, but just to make sure, it is also involved in the positive feedback mechanism. What does it do? It controls the pituitary hormone that are stored there. And oxytocin, we studied it. It was in the milk production in the female. ADH, anti-diuretic hormone. So let's just write its full form. Anti-diuretic hormone. And this hormone is basically regulating the water balance in your body. Thyroid releases thyroxine and calcitonin. So both of these hormones are released by thyroid. Thyroxine, it regulates your higher metabolism, while calcitonin is the one which regulates calcium. Here the question is important, boys. You also have to recognize the pair of hormones which work opposite. So see over here, thyroid releases calcitonin, which decreases the calcium level. Okay, it lowers down the calcium level. And now look over here, the parathyroid hormone is really the parathyroid gland, it releases parathyroid hormone and it increases the calcium level. So when the blood calcium is low, it regulates the calcium, so it means that it increases the calcium. So calcitonin, it decreases the calcium, and parathyroid, it increases the calcium. So these two hormones work in pair. Another pair of hormones is insulin and glucagon. Both are released from the pancreas and they carry the messages from the signal messages from the pancreas. Like if the blood glucose level is high, what they will do, they will release insulin. And if the blood glucose level is low, they will release glucagon to make more insulin and make more glucose. So again, when the blood glucose level was high, it is converted into glycogen and stored in your muscle cells by the help of insulin. But when the blood glucose is low, they are producing glucagon, which converts glycogen back into glucose. So it means that they are working opposite. They are working in a cyclic form. One decrease the thing and the other increase the thing. Such kind of mechanisms are known as negative feedback mechanisms. Okay, so such kinds we call them as negative feedback mechanisms. Now we have same over here. This is negative feedback mechanism. Another example over here. Okay, another example is down here. Adrenal gland releases adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is the one which prepares the body for emergency conditions, fight or flight conditions, and cortisol, which increases the blood glucose level and reduces inflammation. Thymus, the last one, which is mainly involved in the immune system and produces the T cells. Next KPI, boys, describe the homeostasis process with examples, investigate the role of hormones in maintaining homeostasis, and sequence the steps of the negative feedback mechanism. Okay, so first of all, homeostasis, a mechanism that controls your internal body conditions with response to the changes in the environment. So they maintain the internal body conditions at some stable environment. There are different glands which are involved in regulating this one. So you can see over here, the pair of glands is called epinephrine and norepinephrine. This is one pair of gland. Thyroid and parathyroid, this is another pair of gland. And insulin and glucagon, another pair of the gland. So remember, these are the three main pairs of the glands which are working by negative feedback mechanism to keep the body conditions at homeostatic level. There is another hormone alone, ADH, which regulates the body temperature. Boys, I'm re-insisting over here. For example, in this diagram, when you see something in the form of a cycle, this is called as negative feedback mechanism. Negative feedback mechanism. So what is negative feedback mechanism? You see, this is a balance. Whenever this balance is disturbed, either it goes high like this or it goes low like this. It's an imbalance now. In both cases, the negative feedback mechanism will turn on and it will follow the steps to bring the body conditions back to normal. So first of all, there should be a stimulus which is detected by your receptors, and these receptors send the message to your central nervous system, which passes the output to effectors, which are your glands and muscles. These are not written over here. I can quickly add. The effectors are glands and muscles. These glands and muscles, they show a response. So this is a 5-stage process. So we will see more examples down. No need to go into these details right now because I have explained all on top. You can quickly read the definitions, like what happens over here. Now we have another thing, explain the negative feedback mechanism with examples. So we have to see some examples. Explain how nervous system works, and in the endocrine, how they work together. So you remember the nervous system part is pituitary and hypothalamus. These two are the parts from the nervous system. So this diagram can explain that your nervous system is working and it is the main one which brings the homeostasis. But how? Let's say, let's look at this diagram better. When you are maintaining temperature, boys, focus on this diagram. Always like something is in the circle. So this is another circle. Okay, so when the changes happen from the normal, your body bring it back with the help of the negative feedback mechanism. So you can go in either cycle. For example, the stimulus is that your body temperature increased. So what happens? Your thermostat get active, which is hypothalamus. You produce sweat, and also the blood vessels in the skins dilate, and that all brings the temperature down. It comes to the normal. On the other hand, if the temperature decreases, like you feel cold, in that case, again, the hypothalamus become active. The blood vessels now, they will constrict, not dilate, they will constrict. So you have to notice this difference. They will constrict, and then we have the shivering. So before it was sweat, now it is shivering, and then the body temperature comes back to original, like it increases. Maintaining water balance, it is very important to look into this diagram, this one, how you maintain the water balance. Again, the hypothalamus is involved over here, which receives the message, send it to pituitary, and causes the control of ADH. You remember there was adrenaline at the top of each kidney. So there is adrenaline. This adrenaline basically produces ADH. So you have to focus what's happening over here. Look, this is the normal water level in the blood, and then it goes to the person, over here. Water level drops the normal. When the water level decreases in your body, you produces more ADH to save more water by reabsorption. And boys, let's link it to the next topic, excretory system. You remember this step is one of the steps in production of urine. There is reabsorption that takes place in loop of Henle. If you remember, the reabsorption takes place in loop of Henle. Okay, so that then the water level comes back to the normal. But in case if the water level rise, you have more water in your body than you need, in that case what you do, you produces less ADH, and then your kidneys absorb less water. So when you produce less ADH and your kidneys absorb less water, it means that there is less reabsorption of water. So automatically you will have here more urine. Okay, so you will produce more urine. That is the third stage in the production of urine, that is called as excretion, if you remember. Okay, blood glucose, again another way of the feedback mechanism. You can look into this diagram, negative feedback. So one cycle goes like this, and another cycle goes like this. So this is another negative feedback mechanism. So whenever blood glucose is high, insulin will be released, glycogen is formed, and then the blood glucose level comes down to normal. But over here, if the glucose is low, okay, you release pancreas, and the glucagon will be broken down. Glucagon will break down glycogen, and that causes the blood glucose to come back. Last two KPIs for this one. how the nervous system and endocrine systems work together, and how the positive feedback is working. So we discussed like positive feedback is totally opposite to negative feedback. In negative feedback, we bring the things back to normal, okay? But in positive feedback, the starting signals amplify. The signal amplifies as the reaction goes on. Remember, boys, in the positive feedback, the signal amplifies and go away from the normal point, okay? So in this case, the response is amplified. A positive feedback happens, for example, during the childbirth, okay? For example, during the milk production in the female. So these are some of the examples, like the childbirth, the blood clotting, and the lactation in the female. So these are like the most common examples for that. There are some diseases that can happen because of the endocrine system, like diabetes. We have done the diabetes like as a homework. It was there as a homework on the class kick. So you need to know the functions, and then these diseases are just like normal. Don't worry about these, but just remember that if there is any issue with the endocrine system, it will cause problems in your body that will cause the diseases. Now these are the practice questions which are shared with you as the class kick. You can go over there, you can solve them. Like for example, let's say insulin is produced from, for example, so be careful, boys, you need to know the gland. So gland is pancreas, okay, and then the label from the diagram below, because you need to identify from the diagram below. And I told you this leaf shaped structure between the kidneys is the one which is called as pancreas. So this is labeled as H, okay. And now hormone function. So we have discussed that it converts the glucose into glycogen. So that's all, okay. So this is how you work over here. So on. So glucagon is also released by the pancreas. So I can say over here it is H as well, and then in this one it will be opposite. It converts the glycogen, okay, into glucose. So like that, you will have the answers over there as well, and you can answer them. I told you, just remember the pairs of the glands which work together. Now identify 3 pairs of the hormones that work together that affect on the homeostasis. We discussed already 3 pairs. I listed the 3 pairs over here, yeah, here. So epinephrine and norepinephrine, thyroid and parathyroid, and insulin and glucagon. So you can just go easily, boys, just refer back to the summary sheet and you can see over here. Now molecule X, whether it is a steroid hormone or a non-steroid hormone, the easy way to answer the multiple choice question is to follow elimination rule. I'm writing it here for you. That is called as elimination rule. You can easily follow elimination rule and answer the question. Okay, which statement? So first of all, look over here. This is molecule X. It is going into the cell, but before it go into the cell, it bind with this thick pink thing, and they label the pink thing as this is a receptor. So any hormone that bind with the receptor, we know that it is called as amino acid hormone. So either this or this. Definitely the answer cannot be neither A nor B. So that's what we have to focus. Then what is the answer? Okay, so now we can see that amino acid hormone, because it can diffuse through the plasma membrane. No, it cannot diffuse through the plasma membrane. So then it is written over here. It means that the answer is D. Look, by following elimination rule, you already crossed out 2 options. Then you have only 2 to figure out. You can differentiate between them. We discussed it. Then once a system deviates or moves away from set point, a negative feedback mechanism, what does it do? It returns the system. Remember, boys, the negative feedback, it returns the system back to set point, while the positive feedback mechanism, it moves the system further away from the set point. So these are the definitions you have to memorize. This is a diagram which statement, again boys, elimination rule. You can see that these are the circles. They are working in the form of the circles. It means that there is something shivering and sweating. Opposite, it means that this is a negative feedback mechanism. So you will not even look at these options. Elimination rule. Don't look at these options. They are not for you. So what we have the negative feedback mechanism because the temperature is moved further away. No, it doesn't move further away. It is returned to the set point. So it means that that is the answer. So like that's how you work with the elimination rule and find the answers quickly. Hormones, these hormones, then endocrine glands, and then the target cells. So you have to label them, join them actually. So the hormones are basically messages. They are produced from the endocrine glands. So these produce the message, and then they act on the target cells. So this is over here. Many hormones are released from the endocrine gland. Which of the below is released from the nerve cells and not the endocrine gland? That is really very easy because this is pituitary working over here. So this is the only hormone which is released from the pituitary. That's it, boys. We will continue the excretory system. Let's take a break over here. You can revise, go through the questions and answers and practice more and more. We will continue with excretory system. Thank you.